I'm Peter Bailey, and as an award-winning author, journalist, and filmmaker, many of you may know me from sharing a nightcap with your favorite stars, read my articles in Time, Newsweek, the Miami Herald, and New York Times, or seen my Paradise Discovered film series. Now, I invite you to Upfront, the flagship talk show of Yellow Cedar, the new media company I've launched alongside fellow University of Delaware alum, business leader, and former vice chairman of the WAPA board, Jed John Hope, who BET called an innovator on the brink of greatness. Our mission is simple: to elevate the discourse in our native Virgin Islands. Upfront has been brought to you by Pro Solar and Christie's International Real Estate, U.S. Virgin Islands. Good day. I'm Peter Bailey, the co-founder of Yellow Cedar, and I'm joined by fellow co-founder of Yellow Cedar, Jed John Hope. And today on Upfront, we have the privilege of being joined by the Acting Secretary of the U.S. Department of Urban Development and Housing, Adrianne Tom.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes, it's great to be here.
Ms. Tom, you're a Centomian.
Yes.
So there's so many of our young people who are inspired by you. I'm inspired by you. I think life in itself is just a constant battle against disbelief. You went to St. Peter and Paul from tiny little St. Thomas.
Yes.
How did you battle that disbelief to get here?
You know, one of the things about being a Virgin Islander is that you're proud of who you are. You have strength and resilience. And so I was able to take those things that are embedded into each one of us and shape it into leadership, right? One, it takes a whole lot to make a Virgin Islander feel bad about themselves, right? You have to go real heavy to make me doubt who I am and where I came from. So I was grounded. My parents grounded me, my family grounded me into who I am. And so I was able to take that, and no matter what room I was in, able to say, I'm supposed to be at this table. You know, I've earned my way to this table. And every now and then you might doubt yourself, but then you remember your mother and your grandmother, and they say, I didn't raise you to be afraid. And so that sense of self, but also that sense of knowing what your true north needs to be, which is people, has helped me all these years on this journey. And it has been a wonderful journey, a wonderful journey.
Jed, you have a personal take on
growing up in Virgin Islands. So it's crazy because, you know, I always tell people I'm a product of the Virgin Islands.
That's right.
As I kind of research for this article, not this article, but this interview, I realized that I'm a product of HUD.
There you go.
My family, you know, we used to live in Suffer Alley. We call it the Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion.
Yes.
But nobody calls it that. We call it Suffer Alley.
Right.
And then my mother got an FHA loan to build a house that we still have in Hannah's Rest. So as I look back, I was like, wow, like, you know, the work that you do day to day, we cannot thank you enough for. I mean, it's meant a lot personally to me and my family, but to many other families in the Virgin Islands. And that's what I wanted to thank you for.
Oh, thank you.
A little bit more about, you know, how you became the acting secretary and what are the federal levers that you pull, because not a lot of people know exactly what the Secretary of HUD does.
No. Well, thank you for sharing your story and your family story. And that is the secret sauce of HUD. And I say that to our 9,000 employees whenever I can, that we are absolutely everywhere. I cannot think of any part of this country, even though urban development is in our name, I can't think of any part of this country that HUD does not exist. Yes, we help first-time homeowners, probably a lot of first-time homeowners here in the U.S. Virgin Islands as well, because most of our first-time homeowners are Black and brown people that the conventional market has forgotten. And so we provide those opportunities. We provide rent assistance for people who can't afford their rent. We provide public housing, which of course always needs to be repaired, for people who need someplace affordable to stay. But beyond that, you know, we help provide parks and health clinics and schools. Our funding is literally everywhere that people are. We also, and I think this is, you know, part of the reason I'm here, we also provide disaster recovery funds for people who need it, for leaders who need it. So it is HUD's money that is surging through the U.S. Virgin Islands right now. It is HUD's money that is in Puerto Rico right now. Just the other day, President Biden sent a $100 billion request to the Congress to help with all of the disasters that's occurred in the past 2 years, including Hurricane Helene and Milton. $12 billion of that dollars will be coming to HUD if Congress approves it, to help places like Maui after the wildfires. But I know that the work that I do permeates everything. How did I get to this point?
So Peter and Paul.
So, yeah, that's right. Sister Anne, hail up, so.
It was a middle high school. It wasn't too bougie, it wasn't too hood, so it was a middle.
I had a great family and the great foundation of a good, strong education, centered on values and what we need to value. And I will always have that with me. But, like most of us, I went to the States for college. I went to a small women's college in Western Massachusetts, Smith College, which was a leap. I remember when my mother, God bless her soul, dropped me off, she looked around. She'd never lived in the States. And she looked around and she said, "Where are the Black people?" Because I was in Western Massachusetts. And she was concerned. But because of my pride in who I am that she instilled in me, and because of what these islands mean to me, I was like, this ain't nothing, Had a great time there. And then went to work for the wonderful Ron DeLugo, who gave me my first job out of college and was able to learn a lot from him and his team. And I was there when he finally retired after, serving the territory so very well. From that point, I needed a job. And so I applied to a number of different jobs in the federal agencies and landed my first job at HUD back in the 90s as a career staffer. And it was wonderful. And that's when I got the housing bug. That's when I realized how important housing is to not just stability, but also to generational wealth, making sure you can become a homeowner and pass something to your children. And then the journey went on from there.
When we think of housing and public housing,
right.
There's an American paradigm, there's a stereotype.
Absolutely.
There's a stereotype. So
Absolutely.
You are the bastion of getting the American public to understand public housing is a stepping stone, it's a bridge for people.
Yeah.
How do you get past that stereotype of getting Americans to embrace the concept people need affordable?
It is because public housing is looked down upon why it has not received the funding that it needs to look and be better, fundamental. And who lives in public housing as well? That has been a problem. Most people who receive housing assistance are on that housing assistance for 10 years or less. There is a misnomer that people are there over and over again, and sometimes that does happen, but that is the basic fact. But what we also need to share with folks is you get what you pay for, right? These are homes, no different than any other apartments. And if we as the federal government, as national leaders, make a decision, which is made almost every year, to not invest in what these homes need, it's going to look the way that it looks. There is a $70 billion backlog to fix and repair public housing across the country. That's a big number that's never been met. And so we know what we need to do. But very fundamentally, the other thing that HUD has done is we created the housing middle class. And no one thinks about that way. Yes, we provide housing for people who are, need a little bit of help, right? And just a foothold, but we have built the homeownership middle class. That is what we've done with the FHA program. And, one of the things that I'm really proud of is over the past 4 years with this administration, we've tried to bring down the barriers to access to homeownership. It's been a topsy-turvy world. Most people don't want to go in because interest rates are high and it's more expensive, mostly because of what happened during the pandemic and where people shifted to and changed the housing ecosystem. But we try to do smart things like if you've been a renter for all of your life, and that's your really one gateway to demonstrate that you can pay a mortgage, we said, you know what, if you've been paying your rent on time, we're going to look at that as part of your becoming eligible for HUD's programs, common sense things like that, to make sure that people are able to get an edge up.
Awesome. So let's pivot to the VI a little bit.
Yes.
What are you most proud of about your accomplishments, while you've been in office, for what you've done for the territory?
One of the things that I'm proud of is that we've been keeping an eye on what's happening down here, tied to disaster recovery. I will say there is more work to do. There is more work to do. And that work needs to happen quickly because the next administration that's coming in behind us may not value the work that needs to happen down here. I'm proud of the work that we've done to make sure that the territory's leaders know what it means to build homeownership units. That's something that the governor and I have talked about over and over again, and we've tried to teach them ways that people who want to, people want to have their own home, whether they're building it up from the ground or they're going to purchase it. So we've taught them how to use our funds to make that work. But I will say that, and I'll say it, and I'm going to say it over and over again. I wish there was more that had been done here with disaster recovery funds than had been. And even if there was more done, until the people feel it, right? Until the people feel like my roof was finally fixed, right? Or my grandmother's house is now fixed. Until people feel that, they will not believe and trust anything else that's happening. We provided $145 million to the governor to get to WAPA, to help with some of the underlying issues that people are having. I get a text probably almost every day, once a week, my family saying the power out again, because they want me to know what's happening. So I had a very fruitful conversation with WAPA's leadership yesterday.
Was that just for the Vital buyout or for other things?
It was primarily for purchasing the utility facilities and also for the generators that are coming online. And so at least one of them. So we have been dogged in trying to make sure we can use these scarce funds, probably once in a lifetime funds that we received from Congress to make sure people are okay. And there's more room to grow, but I was okay with what I heard yesterday.
But that's the thing, Secretary Todman, I'll just be honest. Our people are in a state right now where those hurricanes, right? We have a situation where housing is really out of the reach for most Virgin Islanders, right? And there's a fear that after the storm, there's a new set of people coming. The demographic is changing. People are funding. Gentrification is happening. And there's this fear that the VI that we know is disappearing. There's a new class being built upon the existing VI. What is in place to help Virgin Islands? We say, look, we're getting priced out of our home. I mean, it's happening all across America, right?
Right, but here.
But it's a little different because it's a supply issue.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. Well, I think it's just that. I think that the smart thing to do is to leverage the funds that HUD provides, leverage the funds that even FEMA provides to make sure that the infrastructure where people are living is fixed so they feel they can stay, number one, right? But number two, there's a lot of money and ways to really leverage HUD's funds and other private dollars to acquire land, to build homes that people need. I'm leaving here and I'm going to go see some repairs to housing that's been done. The last time I was here, I looked at a multi-unit apartment building. But people have to be strategic and smart in how they use money. There's absolutely a lot of solutions. But here's my thoughts around that. This is a job. It's not who I am. Right? I'm not going away. Adrianne Todman is not going away. Right? I'll be done with this job. And part of my obligation now that I've had this experience, is how do I leverage it to make sure that people here feel like they can stay in the homes that they grew up in. And so my job there is not done, even though I have 60 more days or so in this particular position.
So going back really quickly, one of the things that I'd like to see more in the territory is manufactured housing. Right? It takes forever to build a home here. Prefab, like I come from an engineering background of some sort, and prefab is the way to go. It saves a lot of construction time, saves a lot of dollars, but everyone here is so kind of set in the ways of, I got to build brick right.
You have to pour the concrete.
Blocks. Can you talk a little bit more about manufactured housing and how HUD has leveraged that to...
There is so much opportunity with manufactured and modular housing, so much 3D printing. There's so much opportunity there. Each year for the past 4 years, we've hosted something called Innovations in Housing, where literally on the mall, the piece of land between the US Capitol and the Washington Monument, we have built homes. We brought in our partners where they have literally built the modular housing right there on the mall so people can see, because when people hear manufactured housing, they're thinking, oh, that's some little cheap thing. I want to let the first rain come, the water, and we're going to know hurry. And that's how we've grown up. But the technology and the innovation is there. I mean, there are homes that were built by one of the vendors that we invited that withstood not one but 2 hurricanes in the past several years. So the technology is there, the innovation is there. It can be built quickly with less labor, so it's less expensive. There are products that people can purchase for $150,000. But to your point, we have to get past. And it's not just here. It's in the States too. People like their stick and bricks. They want to know that it's like, I can see the framing, but there's so much more to do. And the number one thing that I found in this job at a national level is we also need to open up the minds of leadership to permit these types of homes to be built as well, because the market is there, but we need to open up the door to let that market come in. But I'm excited about what's to come. And there are homes out there that are built that would withstand hurricane winds. Absolutely.
As a Virgin Islands Secretary Todman, my whole life, I'll just be honest. When I think about my reality, I consider myself a Virgin Islander first and American second. Because I'll just be blunt.
Right.
Our position as a territory affects me. And you being right there in the circle,
right,
the ear of the president,
right.
Do you address the issue of, are we a state, are we a colony, are we a territory?
This is not a conversation I've had with him, because this is a conversation for the people of the Virgin Islands, right? People here have to decide what the future looks like. So I'm not going to weigh in on that. And I know there's a number of different reasons people have, well, we want to be independent, we want to be a state, we can't vote for the president, that's unfair. These are all true things. What does it mean to be a territory? I think the people here have to decide what that is. But here's what I know, is that no matter what status the Virgin Islands has, it has to take all the opportunities that it has to do better and to be as strong as it wants to be. And being a state doesn't necessarily make it so, right? Because we have states that are themselves going through their own issues. But I do think that being able to leverage being under the American flag and what that means in terms of resources, what that means in terms of citizenship. And if people decide they don't want that anymore, then they have to decide they don't want that anymore, but they need to think about what that is. I think of myself as a Virgin Islander first as well. And this came to a head when you're nominated for these jobs, you are also, John Doe of. And so many people are John Doe of Washington, D.C., because that's, because my residence is in D.C., John Doe of California. So when they came to me and said, what's your of? I said, of the Virgin Islands. I didn't have to do that.
No.
But I said, of the Virgin Islands. One, because I wanted to put on the map who we are and that we are in the room, but also that I'm the first to be in the president's cabinet, to have served as a deputy secretary from here. So I wanted that to be recorded for history, and not just for me, but for all the little Adrians running around in St. Thomas right now saying, can I actually work for the president one day? The answer is absolutely
that's
yes.
Inspiring. I mean, that was one of the reasons why we knew that we had to sit with you.
Right.
This is our second interview on Upfront. The first was with Governor Bryan, and the second said we had to sit with Secretary.
Well, thank you for that.
Because this is historic, and we need
you.
Young Virgin Islanders, male and female, but especially female, to know that they can aspire to be the secretary of,
anything.
Of anything.
Of anything. Of anything. Well, let me say this. We are all of a certain age. I'm probably a little older than you all. Probably a lot older. But no matter where we are, I think in the country, we owe it to the folks who are here, much like you all are doing, to lend our expertise to make sure that home is better. I've done what I can do from this perch, and that road isn't done. I'm proud of both of you for doing what you're doing to make sure that our voices are out there and people are hearing what they need to hear. So I think that's a value added as well. But I also want to make sure that people are aware that at the end of the day, they have to hold all of us accountable, right? Have to hold all of us accountable. It's not just talk. It's like, what's the outcomes?
Right.
Which is one of the reasons I'm here this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I know we are short on time. Is there anything else that you wanted to get out to the Virgin Islands listeners, population?
The VI massive.
The VI massive? I see y'all accountable. No, just that keep your head up. Don't let people bring you down, and let's do everything we can for our kids who are coming up behind us. That's the best we can do in life.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, we wish you the best. Your last 60 days in the office.
I know. We're going to make those 60 days work, though. The president told us every single day.
You're going to have a good run with this new administration.
I'm prayerful.
You're prayerful.
I'm prayerful. That's all I can be.
Is that prayerful or prayerful?
I am prayerful. I am prayerful. I'm hoping, like I said, people need to hold folks accountable. And so I am hopeful that people will first look to do no harm to my beautiful islands. And I'll be watching.
So keep an eye on us.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Until next time, God bless.
Upfront has been brought to you by Pro Solar and Christie's International Real Estate, U.S. Virgin Islands.